Stadia is dead. Imagine my shock. If you go to the Google graveyard right now, or the Killed by Google website, you can see right here, Stadia has been added to the list because today Google officially confirmed that Stadia will in fact be shutting down. This was relayed via the following blog post, whose headline reads, "A message about Stadia and our long-term streaming strategy," published on September 29th, 2022. The key points to highlight. A few years ago, we launched a consumer gaming service, Stadia. While Stadia's approach to streaming games for consumers was built on a strong technology foundation, it hasn't gained the traction with users that we expected, so we have made the difficult decision to begin winding down our Stadia streaming service. There were many issues with Stadia at launch. The technology itself, it took a bit for the rough edges to get smoothed out. People were concerned about the over-reliance on an internet connection and the fact that the games you bought would only be on the cloud. The library of games was far too meager. The teased features never made it to launch, and it was just a really slow rollout of key features that could have potentially made Stadia appealing. The way they charged a subscription fee for basic features like 4K 60 FPS and the like. It was admittedly cool technology, and the cloud technology itself, once it got its footing, did eventually start to work pretty well. But everything else around that technology, the service aspect and the value proposition and the features and all these things, that's where Stadia never took off. And so people very quickly just began to become disinterested in a platform that was very slow in its rollout of games, features, and key elements. And now the games that people bought through Stadia will disappear because it's all through the cloud. It's all on Google servers, though it is confirmed here that Google will be refunding all Stadia hardware purchases made through the Google Store and all game and add-on content purchases made through the Stadia Store. So that's going to cost Google a hefty amount of money, but yeah, they had no other choice because otherwise they'd be facing a shitstorm of backlash if they just kept the money and made all the games that people purchased via this cloud service disappear. Players will continue to have access to their games library and play through January 18th, 2023, so they can complete final play sessions. We expect to have the majority of refunds completed by mid-January of 2023. So January of 2023 is the official expiration date of Google Stadia as a cloud gaming service. Now, Google does hint that the technology itself won't just be decommissioned, it will be used behind the scenes at Google. The underlying technology platform that powers Stadia has been proven at scale and transcends gaming. We see clear opportunities to apply this technology across other parts of Google like YouTube, Google Play, and our augmented reality efforts, as well as make it available to our industry partners, which aligns with where we see the future of gaming headed. If there is one company I wouldn't trust with having a good vision for the future of gaming, it's Google, especially after the massive flop that is Stadia. As for what's going to happen to the Stadia team, building and supporting Stadia from the ground up has been fueled by the same passion for games that our players have. Many of the Stadia team members will be carrying this work forward in other parts of the company. We look forward to continuing to have an impact across gaming and other industries using the foundational Stadia streaming technology. So again, the technology itself is still going to be leveraged in some way, but as a commercial product or commercial service for consumers, Stadia is as good as dead. Unsurprisingly, already we're seeing plenty of reactions from games industry pundits like Jason Schreier here, who tweeted, "I reported this last year at Bloomberg, but the amount of money Google spent to get games on Stadia is so shocking that I still can hardly believe it, even after corroborating with multiple sources. Tens of millions of dollars per game for Red Dead 2, Assassin's Creed, etc. Games that had already been out, by the way, but Stadia decided to pay all this money for them to port their games over to Stadia so that it have some kind of games library. That money could have been used to acquire a bunch of indie games to fill out the library of games, or to better fund their in-house studios that they decommissioned very shortly after they were founded, after they were established. They weren't really even given a chance to ship a game before Google gave up on them." Jason Schreier also points out the promises made by Phil Harrison in 2019 versus what we're seeing now. So right here we can see from 2019 when Phil Harrison was asked, "Is this just another ambitious Google project that will disappear in a few years like Google Plus?" The response provided was, "I understand the concern, but I think that All you have to do is look at the level of investment that we have made and continue to make in Stadia. This is not a trivial project by any means. This is a very, very significant cross-company effort that isn't just my team, but it's also across YouTube, it's across our technical infrastructure and networking team. It represents thousands of people who are working on this business, basically assuring Stadia isn't going away anytime soon. Fast forward to today, and Phil Harrison has done a complete 180 by killing off Stadia, winding down their streaming service because it hasn't gained the traction with users that we expected. Funny enough, exactly 2 months ago, rumors began to spread that Google was already setting in place an exit strategy for Stadia, as detailed here by PC Gamer in an article whose headline reads, "Google denies rumor that Stadia is shutting down," after detailing why Google Stadia has failed to gain traction, confused marketing, technical problems, absence of some very basic functionality at launch, and the shuttering of internal development studios. The article detailed a rumor that was spread by Twitter user Killed by Google, which if I try to go to now, for some reason it's suspended, but this is a quote from back then shared by this Twitter user detailing something that a regional Google manager intimated to this individual, and the quote here reads, "Long story short, Google is beginning their exit plan. They did not have an exact date that end of service will happen, but they did say by the end of summer." He also mentioned that they will not be transferring their services or servers to any other competition per se, and it will be much like they did with Google Play Music, same exit approach and strategy. He also mentioned that all members would be informed 30 to 60 days before, and that the last month of service will be refunded and no charge for its usage. Also, any available subscription months will be refunded fully to your linked bank account. I'm not sure about the details surrounding subscription refunds, but we do know that Google is in fact refunding all purchased games and all Stadia hardware purchases made through the Google Play Store. So generally, this rumor was pretty spot on in terms of the exit strategy for Stadia and around when it was set to happen. But at the time when these rumors spread, Stadia responded on its official Twitter page on that same day, July 29th, 2022, 2 months ago, that Stadia is not shutting down. Rest assured, they said, we're always working on bringing more great games to the platform and Stadia Pro. I have little doubt in my mind that at this point, the Stadia higher-ups knew that Stadia would be winding down, that it would be shutting down in the near future, but they put out this lie anyway. I mean, this is speculation on my part, but I cannot imagine that such a major decision to shut down the service that you've invested millions and millions of dollars into, that such a decision would happen within the span of a couple weeks. They must have known months in advance that this was where the road was headed. So next time Google assures you of anything, be sure to never trust them. I never trusted this tweet when it was first put out there. Other indicators that Google would soon kill Stadia was, as reported by The Verge, the writing on the wall that has been there for a while, like when Logitech announced its new cloud gaming handheld last week, and Stadia was one of the few cloud gaming services not mentioned. Beyond that, the article aptly mentions Google's habit of killing projects only a few years after they launch. As for what the general reaction has been like across the internet, across social media, well, responding to this official tweet from Stadia, you've got users noting how cool you're getting refunds for the games that you bought and for the Stadia hardware that you bought, but what about the saves, the 400 hours in Cyberpunk for Stadia that this user put in there with no ability to carry your progression to other platforms? This was something that I and many others warned about. Because Stadia is cloud-based, there was a risk of Google ending Stadia unceremoniously early like they've done with so many of their other projects and losing all of your progression and access to the Stadia version of these games. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. No amount of money is going to be able to refund the amount of time that you invested in the Stadia versions of games whose progression cannot be carried over. Here we have Tom Warren from The Verge who reported on this, and people responding with tweets like, Google Stadia had the best streaming technology of all gaming companies. Try GeForce Now, Game Pass streaming and everything, but nothing was as good as Stadia from just like a how well does a game stream standpoint. But without exclusive games, you don't get people on your platform, as well as without a good service, a good subscription model, a good value proposition, or hell, a compelling library of games for that matter. A gaming platform is useless without the games and software to back it up, and a good set of features that make Stadia stand out from the pack. Google started good, but leadership lost long term. I disagree with the notion that Google started good. Stadia was never in a good place as far as I can remember. Others responding with apathy, with many having forgotten that Stadia was even a thing. Oh no. Anyway, classic meme being used by many people in response to the Stadia news. People joking about how there was so few people engaging with Stadia that the 3 people that were using Stadia reading this are reacting like a despaired Homelander. Gaming news tweeter Nibel also put out a post, and people responded to it with posts like, I still have the Founders Pack sealed in my office. They never took advantage of that YouTube integration they teased. They had a whole gaming community to tap, and they didn't. Once again highlighting just how feature incomplete Stadia was and how many promised features didn't make it to launch and beyond. I'm so mad Stadia came out way too early and shit the bed. Deserves to be shut down at this point. That's the thing that everyone agrees on. Stadia had the technology, the tech itself was cool, and eventually it did work fairly well, but Google didn't know how to leverage that into a proper gaming platform. Cool technology on its own isn't enough to carry a platform, a service, a product. The way it's executed, the way it's presented to customers, and what it brings to customers' lives, and how all of that is implemented, integrated. Like, all of that is what makes cool technology something that garners mass appeal, something that becomes mainstream. But nailing the technology itself aside, Google shit the bed on just about every other front. And with how little engagement there was surrounding Stadia and how much Stadia was costing Google to run, it should come as no surprise that they made the executive decision to just cut their losses. So yeah, this is what's going on with Stadia, ladies and gentlemen. This is a scenario that I predicted months, if not years ago, and as the months kept passing by and as Stadia diminished in its relevance, yeah, it became more and more clear to me that Stadia's days were numbered. This is all a stark contrast to Xbox Game Pass, which for a low and reasonable subscription fee, you gain access to both cloud versions and downloadable versions of games. And it's an actual Netflix of games because you're not buying games at full price for just the cloud version, but rather the subscription itself comes with the whole library of games that Game Pass offers, hundreds of games. And you get Xbox exclusives on day one on Game Pass, and there are just so many more advantages to Game Pass, and it's just priced better. The value is there. The library of games is there. The features are more compelling, and what it's going for is just superior to Stadia in every single metric. So, of course, people would gravitate to something like Xbox Game Pass and not give Stadia a second look. So, yeah, there you have it, folks. That's everything you need to know about Stadia's official shutdown and cancellation and winding down. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Stadia's lifespan, what little life it did live. What's your take on everything about Stadia from beginning to its unceremonious end? And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.